So good morning, everybody, and welcome to today's Mailbox seminar. This is really aimed purely at companies not yet using the mailbox so that you can receive your communications electronically. This topic is very important and in line with the EPO aim to deliver a fully digitalized and paperless patent granting process in the next year or so. And in regards to the mailbox, we're actually close to 100% of this target. So we hope to see all of today's participants moving over to the mailbox after today's session. My name is Richard Garvey. I'm a key account manager at the European Patents Office, facilitating the most efficient workflows between the EPO and our larger customers. One of my main roles has indeed therefore been to assist our larger filers implementing the mailbox. And up until now, I've probably helped with around 200 customers, approximately, helping them directly to receive their electronic mail rather than waiting for snail mail, and avoiding potential legal uncertainty with lost letters, and quite simply being able to work more efficiently. So I have the pleasure today of being joined by Emma Luke, resplendent in orange. Emma, looking lovely. And at this stage, I'll hand over to you to introduce yourself and give an overview of today's seminar.
Thanks, Richard. Always the charmer. Good morning, everyone. I have to say it's a beautiful morning here in Munich. The sun is shining, so it's a really nice start today. Thank you for taking the time to join our seminar today. My name is Emer. It's Emer Luke. I am Irish and I have been working at the European Patent Office now for many, many years. I have accumulated a lot of experience within the customer area, and I'm very pleased to say that I'm working as a key account manager since 2022. It is also with great pleasure, Richard, that I am co-hosting once again the seminar with you today. So during today's session, we will speak to you briefly about two-factor authentication, how to log into MyEPO services, okay? And then we will provide you with a short overview of the tool itself, followed by a live demonstration on how to set up the mailbox, how to receive the EPO communications electronically, and how to process the mail, with a few best practice tips along the way. So just before I begin, I would like to mention perhaps a few things, and that is that you're more than welcome to ask questions, but hopefully we will manage to answer many of your questions, as we really we hope to bring you on a MyEPO mailbox journey today. So please be patient, note any questions down, and of course, time permitting, Richard and I will address any additional questions live at the end of the session. As always, we do have our lovely colleagues, so thank you in the background, and they will answer any questions in writing. So let's begin. Okay. So before I share my screen, let me give you a short overview, okay? So MyEPO provides an interface that is extremely user-friendly. It's intuitive and it's easily accessible. So the service offers filters for extended searching, and it allows easier viewing of documents in the digital file. What it also provides is access to documents in their original data format, so patent and non-patent literature, including colour parts where available. And perhaps it's also worth mentioning that it is an ongoing process, okay? So it's an ongoing process, and we want to improve the tool, and more importantly, we want to enhance a better user experience. So why should you adopt the mailbox? Well, timeliness, of course. It gives you an advantage to work on your communications early, legal certainty, and much improved efficiency. And I'm sure that you can appreciate that saving resources and money are also the main drivers then for most companies. Now, for new users, just bear in mind that we send links of your communications to your secure company mailbox. Now, I would like to emphasize company, because anybody who needs access and process your mail will be able to access all of it via the mailbox. So a company in MyEPO is a group of users who share a mailbox, and we can work together then on portfolios of applications. So if you wish to use My EPO services, your EPO account must first be linked to a My EPO company, and the company administrator of that company must give you access in My EPO. So what is an EPO account? Well, it is an account that you can use to sign into EPO online services. You sign in using an email address and a password. So this is the default authentication method, plus at least one other authentication method. And this is what we call the two-factor authentication. So the 2FA really provides, let's say, a crucial extra layer of security beyond the password, and especially in today's world, it is so necessary. So at the moment, we support then the Okta Verify, which is an app you can store on your mobile phone, for example, and you will receive a 6-digit code generated for temporary use. There is also a push notification, also part of Okta. We have then Google Authenticator, which is also supported, email and a voice message providing you with a code. So please feel reassured that we are constantly looking into other verification methods also, and this will be shared with you, of course, in eventually down the line. So now I am going to share my screen so we can see the landing page, and we're going to go through the process little by little, okay? So very simply, we're going to go into the EPO website. So Richard, you tell me now if you see my screen. I'm just going to scroll down here. Okay. So as you can see, I scroll down slightly, and all you need to do then is click to the online services under applying for a patent. Then this will actually bring you then to the landing page for My EPO services. And I'm going to scroll down a little bit more here. Now, you're doing a lot of listening, but hopefully you're very attentive there today, because it's very important that you understand why you're doing something, okay? So as mentioned already, the first step that you need to do is to get access, okay? And here you can see here, get access. Right. Okay. Now, the first thing we need to do is we arrive at this page and we need to create a personal EPO account. This is if you don't have one already. So you can use this account then to access all My EPO services. Secondly, you will complete your registration in My EPO so that you can identify then which company or organization you belong to. This will be the crucial step, as it confirms that your registration is complete. Again, the system is extremely intuitive, and it will guide you to either joining an existing company or indeed set up a brand new company of your own. And finally, we have the third step, which will be for the company administrator to sign into My EPO and to accept you as a company member. So let's go back again now to the first step. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the plus sign. And as you can see here, you can create an EPO account. So all you need to do is if you're first time logging in here, sometimes you will get a pop-up saying, are you human? Of course you're human. So you will actually check that, and it'll bring you then through to this page. So all you need to do then is you enter your first name, your last name, and your email address. You check then accept then the terms and conditions, and then of course you create an account. So what happens next is that the EPO will send an email with an invitation to set a password for your new account. So selecting this button then in the email will actually open a window where you can set this password for your new account. And then you must do one other thing, and that is to set up one or more second factor authentication methods. And this really, it gives you then the flexibility and it makes your account a lot more secure. I want to say something as well. So during the setup process, you will be asked then to accept our terms and conditions. And of course, you will be able to consult our data protection and privacy policy. So each EPO account is linked to one email address. And you can use the account to sign into several EPO online services. Okay. Now your password must contain at least 10 characters. It includes at least one letter in the lowercase and one letter in the uppercase, and it will include also one number. So I'm going to go back out here now. And I wanted to say something else to you here, which is also very, very important. You see here we have managing EPO account settings such as authentication methods here. Okay. This is also very, very important because you need to familiarize yourself with the tool, okay? So you can add authentication methods or change, let's say, the settings of your EPO account by signing into account settings, as you can see here. And we will, of course, maybe one of the ladies in the background will put the link into the chat for you as well, okay? And also make note that the account setting page is available only to users who sign in using the two-factor authentication. So in the EPO account settings tab, you can update your name, your preferred language, your email address, and with regards then to the two-factor authentication, you can use any email address, so personal or company address, and most important, always consider to having at least two-factor authentication. Now, for those of you who are not yet, let's say, familiar with this process, you're never alone. So this is also a good thing. And you will see here that below you will always have a feature guide, and that will help you every step of the day. Of the way, I should say. So once your account is created, you'll be able to click on complete setup in MyEPO by identifying the company you want to associate with your EPO account. So just remember, before allowing you to access confidential patent procedure related information online using our MyEPO services, it is required for you to create an EPO account with two-step verification and also to confirm us your identity and company. Now that we have created an account, in order to use MyEPO services, your EPO account must first be linked to a MyEPO company. So when you sign into MyEPO, if you're not linked to a company, you will be offered the choice to create a new company, or you have the option to join an existing company. Now, when you select create a new company, you will be asked to enter the name and address of the company, okay? So the new company will become immediately active and a new mailbox will be created. And very, very important, the first person to create this new company will automatically become the company administrator. You'll probably hear this a little bit more today from myself and Richard. So the role of the administrator is extremely significant and very influential, as they are responsible for managing access rights and granting permissions to other company members, depending on what options are available to the recipients. Now, we will go into that in a little bit more detail later on. And if you're joining an existing company, you will be asked to search for the company name. So this is also important. So please check with your company administrator which company name you should select. And after selecting a company, you will then select the deposit account your user will need to access to. And as a result, then you will then see a message confirming that your request is pending approval by your company administrator. Okay, let me just go back out of here. Okay. I just wanted to say something as well about, more importantly then, for the online filing 2.0 adopters, once the setup is complete, your administrator can also link your users in online filing 2.0. So perhaps also good to mention here that we continue to make progress with developing our tools. And we would recommend, it's something that we thought about a lot, but we do recommend that the company administrator in the online filing 2.0 is in fact the same company administrator or administrators within MyEPO. Again, if you're unsure of anything, you can always click on Get Started from the top here. Okay, so to understand our services. So really take the time to go through the documentation that we have here in the system. And there is a feature guide and there's recordings. Like down here now, we're going to interact. So interact with us on your files, okay? So this is very important. You have an access point here. So open MyEPO. Or if you go into the tool itself, you have another access point, so open MyEPO, okay? Now, before I go into the tool itself, I just wanted to mention here under features, benefits, and legal information, you have actually a full list of, it's called the whitelist. So these are all the communications that will be sent to the mailbox in electronic format. So you can go through the list yourself, okay, which is also good to know. Okay, and then you have the frequently asked questions as well, which is always nice to have. So let's go into the tool itself. Today now, I'm going to go, I'm going to go into another environment actually called the OSE environment, but this is something that we use internally ourselves, okay? But before I do that, just again, remember, MyEPO can be accessed on the EPO website under applying for a patent. You have the services, and then you have the interact with us on your files, okay? So you will sign in using your EPO account using two-factor authentication, okay? So this is your email address plus password. So this is the factor one, all right? And this is followed then by another authentication method, which is factor two. So let me go up here. You can sing a song, Richard, while I'm doing this.
I don't want to hear that.
Okay, so as I said, here is the email address, and we're definitely going to use this email address. And now I'm going to put my password in. Now, as you can see, I have opted then for the push notification, and that's why I have my mobile phone with me today. And then you get a message. Did you try to log in? So indeed, yes, I did. And I say, yes, it's me. And then I use my fingerprint then, which will gain me access then into MyEPO. So as I said, it's extremely important. Don't just leave it to set up one authentication. Do actually set up one or more. It is very, very important, okay? So first of all, I'm going to bring you to our homepage, okay? So here's the homepage then within the MyEPO portal. Let's say it's your workspace then for managing European patent applications, okay? So MyEPO has a set of areas, let's say with features designed to make it easier to work on your applications when you interact with the EPO, okay? On the right-hand side here, I'll just mention a few things quickly. You have here, let's say, a quick access, okay? This enables you to go into the other filing tools, such as Online Filing 2.0 and Central Fee Payment. We also have a link then to the Legal Interactive Platform in MyEPO, which is it's an AI-based conversational agent that brings users to get the most out of EPO's legal sources. For example, you have the EPC guidelines, you have the UP guidelines, or you even have the official journal, okay? And you can also use the link here to submit observations about a published application or granted patent via MyEPO. and you have the possibility then to view the schedule of fields, which is also nice to have. And below then we have there are direct links to frequently asked questions, and even we have the latest release notes. So this, you will see then that it's very compact when you really start to use the tool. We have also then pending actions panel. This is available to all users of MyEPO. So what it shows is a list of submissions that have been started but not yet completed and their status. So you can also download then the list to a CSV file, and you can continue any of the actions. So moving on, I'm just going to explain the tool a little bit, and then Richard will go in and he will give you a live demonstration of the tool itself, which is really, really good. So starting on the top then, we have then the applications. I'm not going to go into everything here. I don't want to confuse you yet. We have the application and patent section. And you will see that it gives you, as a representative, access to your active portfolio of European patent applications as an individual representative or as an association, providing you with the content of the digital file for each application. This also includes, of course, non-public documents, and it allows you to perform procedural actions of these applications. Now, if your company administrator has granted you access to the company mailbox, then you will see the mailbox area when you sign into MyEPO, and you will be able to view the mailbox communications. As I said, don't look too much at this because Richard will explain everything in a second. So again, the mailbox is where you will receive your communications electronically, and they will be received here in the inbox. We have as well, you have the unread. It means basically as it is. You have, if I just click on that here, you see all the unread mail, and they are normally, these items are in bold, which have not been looked at yet. Again, very shortly, Richard is going to go through the whole process with you and show you how to download a communication, how to handle them when treated, and how to create folders. Then we have the Actions tab, and you have the possibility then to reply to communications from the EPO. But this morning now, I'm going to focus just very, very briefly on the admin area, okay, which is, we believe, quite relevant for today's session. But just before I do this, nice for you to know that there is, of course, a representative area, and this area is available to professional representatives to manage their personal details as registered on the list of professional representatives before the EPO, as well as other users from your company who have been granted access to the representative area by a professional representative. We have as well the preferences here. Here is also good for you to know that you can set up email alerts, okay? And what are the email alerts? They are there to notify you when the EPO sends you a communication, for example. There are smaller users who do not want to access the mailbox on a daily basis, which is perfectly fine. And by creating an alert here, it will allow you to receive an email when a communication arrives into the electronic mailbox. So still, it's always very, or let's say it's highly recommended to create, again, a best practice within your company to at least check your inbox regularly, as I'm sure that you do not want to miss any communication. I'm just going to move this here. I wanted to just mention this briefly as well. We have this kind of avatar here. Okay. Here you have the option to open your user profile. So this avatar is your user profile by selecting this user icon, okay? And again, it's in the top right-hand corner. So you see your EPO account number, your representative identification number, your company ID, and if your EPO account is indeed linked to a deposit account and if you are a member of an association. Okay, so let's go back to the admin area, and yeah, this is where the magic begins. So first of all, let's start then with the company members. You will see as a company administrator a list of all the users associated with your company, and you can specify which users should have access to the mailbox and which users should view the EPO deposit account, pay fees via the account, and manage automatic debit orders, fee payment rights. Or you have the option then to provide users with view only or give no rights whatsoever. Again, very important, as a company administrator, you decide. So you decide who should have administrative rights within your company and who should have sending or signing rights. So again, please be aware that we are handling the responsibility back to you, and it is always recommended to have at least one, at least more than one administrator. Okay. Very briefly here, I'm not going to go into it. You have team members and application permissions. Okay, this is basically a functionality related to the portfolio, and it is not part of today's presentation. The mailbox recipients. Okay, so in the recipient tab, you can click on add recipient. Okay, I'll just show you that briefly. And you have the difference then between a European patent attorney, so European representative with the suit and tie. You have an association, which is 2 patent attorneys minimum, and you can have an applicant or lawyer. For example, I'm going to today maybe join a company as a representative. So if I click on representative here, and I just put in my name, this is the only thing I'm going to do live with you, because okay, and I send the request. Okay, and you see then here that my request is pending here. So this is important that you do this correctly as a representative, or if you are an applicant, I would actually recommend that it can be slightly more complicated, as there may not be one clear identifier as to whom the files belong to in our systems due to multiple applicant names or addresses. So in this respect, we simply recommend that you reach out to support via the contact form. Maybe one of you can put that into the chat as well, thank you. Or if you have a key account manager, please reach out to him or her. Okay, now what happens then with this request is the EPO, so we have a very nice support team here in the office, and they will check each request to add a recipient, and in this case to make sure that there is indeed a representative called Emer Luke, okay, who works for this company, and they will link my EQE, so the number that you receive when you pass the European qualifying examination, to the mailbox. Normally the request then can take a couple of hours, a day at most, for the request to be looked at and to be accepted. And then you have the possibility then to have the communications addressed to this recipient sent to the mailbox by selecting yes in the electronic communications column. So very briefly, you have the possibility as well to create an association, which we thoroughly recommend for companies in general. And you need, again, as I mentioned a little bit earlier, at least 2 professional representatives to create an association. Again, Richard will go into more detail very, very shortly. I'm getting there slowly, Richard, at this stage. So you see here, request a PCT link. Yeah, the mailbox system was originally built for receiving EP communications electronically, with identifiers linked to EP filings and communications. So a new system bridge then enables then international agent IDs to be linked to EP IDs, so allowing PCT communications to be received in the mailbox when the EPO is the receiving office. Okay, so international agent applicants or agents with PCT applications handled by the EPO as International Searching Authority or International Preliminary Examining Authority can request a PCT link in order to receive the EPO communications. Again, very simply, requesting the PCT link involves entering an email address, which will then trigger an email from noreply@epo.org, asking the recipient to sign into My EPO and agree to the link, the address, to link the address to the mailbox. So once linked, all EPO communications for PCT applications associated with the address will be routed to the mailbox. Okay, and last but not least, hopefully this has been a good overview. We have, very important, we have the mailbox settings tab. So you can activate, you can deactivate the mailbox for your company. Again, when you log into My EPO for the first time, the first thing you do is to activate the mailbox for your company. If it can happen for some apparent reason, you just want to try out the new tool for a few days, by all means, this is possible. Everything is possible. Again, you turn on the mailbox here and you decide that you need a little more time to look at your own patent management system and processes. This is perfectly okay. What you will do then is, for example, I just click here, you can deactivate the mailbox, which we're not going to do today, okay? So if at some point you would need a little bit more time, you can deactivate it and you'll continue then to receive the communications via post until you are happy with the setup, okay? Still, what is very encouraging is that no mail items go missing. And this is the question that we receive from many users. No communications go missing. So please feel reassured here, but I'm confident after today's session that once you activate the mailbox settings, you will not look back. And I'm sure Richard Garvey will agree with me too. So Richard, on that note, I'm going to stop sharing and I'm going to let you take over. So Richard, go ahead. Thank you.
Great, thanks for that, Emma. So I've also added a link to the 2FA seminar in the chat if you need any more information on that, if you don't already have an EPO account. You'll get a recording of today's session and you can ask questions in the Q&A tab below. So, right, without further ado, we will now go through step by step very slowly how to set the mailbox up. So, just check. Am I sharing the screen there, Emma?
You are indeed, Richard. Perfect. Lovely. Go ahead.
Okay. So, as you can see, I have already logged in to My EPO with my 2FA and I've gone straight through to the administrator area that Emma was talking about. So, just one thing I wanted to reiterate that Emma said. One of the misapprehensions about the mailbox and the reason that many companies haven't switched it on yet is because that they thought the mail was sent directly to the attorney and could not be processed by the paralegals. That is not the case, as you will see now. You can give access to anybody in your company mailbox to access your mail. Good. So how do we set the mailbox up? You will require an administrator. And as Emma said, when you apply for a smart card or an EPO account, it's the first person that will set up your portal that you can see here, and you will be made the administrator. So once you have an administrator within your company, this administrator can then give access to administration rights to other colleagues within your company if they're the ones who are going to be setting the mailbox up. Very important role, as it gives, as Emma said, administrator rights or access rights to many different facets of My EPO. Okay, so how do we set the mailbox up? We go to the admin area tab. Your company administrator is now going to set up the mailbox in 3 main areas. Mailbox settings. You switch the mailbox on. Obviously, ours is already activated. You switch the mailbox on, nothing happens yet. You go back to company members. And this is where you will give the relevant employees who are going to deal with the mail access to the mailbox. So if you select the relevant people, so let's see if we have any with no mailbox access rights. So all seem to have them. So if Christina ten Hovel Berlin, if she is going to have mailbox access rights, we'll put her on to no for the moment. The administrator simply goes there and says, yep, Christina is going to be dealing with mailbox. Okay. The next time that Christina logs in, she will then see the mailbox tab. And under the mailbox tab, this is where your company mail will arrive and can be dealt with by anyone in your company who you have given mailbox access to. Okay. So we'll come back to the mailbox tab at the end, once we've shown you how to actually set up the mailbox. So you've switched the mailbox on, you've given your relevant company members access to the mailbox. The most important thing now is that you need to tell us which mail should be sent to your mailbox, okay? And this is done under mailbox recipients. Just a few words about what this means. The mailbox recipient is the entity that filed the application and whom we will reply to. And there are a few different options that I will now go through. So if you filed an application as a professional representative, an individual professional representative, we will link the application to you and your unique identifier in our system. Your unique identifier as a professional representative is the number that you get when you pass the European qualifying exam. Okay. So in this case, if your company files as individual representatives, you will need to add all of the attorneys and these individual identifiers as recipients. There's 2 ways of doing this at the moment. The first is very new. I'll show you this in a bit more detail at the end of this part of the seminar. I'll have to go into a different system to do that. But as you can see in your portal here under admin area, under company members, at the end there's a little section that says mailbox recipients. For any attorneys in your company, you should see add as recipient under here. I'll show you this in a moment in a different system. That's a new way of adding mailbox recipients, and it's the advised way, because if you click on add as recipient, they will be immediately a live recipient, okay? And any communications or from applications that are linked to them will then start going into your activated mailbox, okay? So I'll show you that in a moment. The second, more traditional option comes under the mailbox recipients tab, okay? As Emma said, under add recipient, you will start adding the recipients to receive their mail in your mailbox. So if you file as individual representatives, and there are 5 attorneys in your company, you should add all 5 as recipients, okay? So we'll go to recipient type. You would click on representative and you would start to give in the names of the professional representatives in your company. In this case, you will send a request, which will then be pending. As Emma said, that will send a request to our support team, who will check that Richard Garve does indeed work for this company, so that you're not adding your competitors' names to your mailbox. Once that has been checked, the link with the unique identifier will be created. And then the administrator will need to go back in one more time and then just click on confirm that you wish to receive electronic mail. Now, you have then activated your mailbox. You've got people in place ready to process the mail, and you have now got, in this case, one representative. If you have several representatives, then you will keep on adding them, of course. Add Roberta on as well. And so once we have then linked this request and your administrator's gone back in for a last time and confirmed, yes, we wish to receive mail, the mail will start coming in potentially the next day if it's a search report. If it's not a search report, we predate our communications by 3 to 5 days. But after 3 to 5 days, the latest, all of your communications will start coming in electronically into your mailbox. And of course, the people who then have access to manage the incoming mail will need to start processing it. One of the questions we get here as well, of course, is do we still get them on paper? And the answer is no. Once you have added an entity as a recipient, their communications will only come electronically into the mailbox. Okay. There's one little tip here, which I'll also show you at the end of this section, because I'll need to open up a different test system. When a recipient is added, I think Ingmar showed you this as well, you can see the portfolio in MyEPO under applications and patents of this individual. And this is very useful for your company for many reasons, but it's also, in regards to the mailbox, a very good sanity check when someone is joining or leaving your company. Okay. Why? Because you can see when they join your company, do they have any files still attached to them from the old company? If that's the case, you want them removed before you add them as a recipient, because you don't want to be receiving communications for applications that don't belong to you. Okay. Possibly even more importantly, from your perspective, when they leave your company, before you remove them from your company, you check, do they have any files still linked to them? If they do, then of course you will want to transfer those files to other representatives in your company or to the association. Okay. So this is how you build up the recipients if you are filing as individual representatives. Now, what if you file as an association? Very similar process. Add recipient, recipient type. In this case, of course, it's an association. So in this case, you wouldn't add the name of the individual representative. You would add the name of the entity that is filing, and that is your association name. So in this case, we will add Garvey Limited. We will send the request. The request will go to support. Support will check and add the unique identifier of the association to your mailbox. And once the administrator's gone back in again and confirmed that the association should receive electronic mail, again, it's the same. You should start checking the next day, see if there is mail in your mailbox. Search reports are sent out on the date of creation, so they might be in the next day. And as I mentioned before, the rest of the mail will start coming in 3 to 5 days. Okay. Now, a little bit of a best practice or a tip, if you like. So if you file only as an association, do you only add the association as the recipient? Theoretically, that is all you need to do to receive your mail electronically. However, I or we would also advise that you add the individual representatives as recipients as well if you file as an association, and you do that for 2 main reasons. If you perhaps make a mistake when filing, if a new paralegal actually files in the name of the individual instead of the association, We will then link the application to the individual as the recipient. When we're sending the communication out, we'll send it to the individual. And if they are not listed as a recipient in the mailbox, you will receive that communication then in paper. Obviously, you want to avoid that. You can avoid that by adding all of the individual representatives as recipients as well. Okay. The second and probably most prevalent, well, it's not really a mistake, but if you are taking over files from another patent attorney firm and you work as an association, what quite often happens is they write to the EPO and they say, please transfer these files to Richard Garvey at Garvey Limited. They will be then taking over representation, but they don't send it to the EPO and request that Garvey Limited takes over. They request that probably their contact of the company takes over. So we will then link it to the individual, not to the association. So again, to make sure that you receive all of your communications electronically, that's probably a best practice to also add the individuals as recipients. And as just mentioned under scenario 1, even if you're filing as an association, you might want to see when a professional representative joins your company, whether they do have any files linked to them. And if you add them as a representative, they then appear under applications and patents, and you can see their portfolio, whether they have any communications linked to them from their previous company. And indeed, when they leave your company, you can check again before you remove them as a company member. Do they have any files linked to them individually? So it's a good sanity check. And that's why I would advise that even if you file as an association, you also link the individuals as recipients. Okay. Another slight tip, if you are filing as professional representatives, it's absolutely fine. I think my experience over the years is that filing as an association removes a lot of administrative work. It removes the chance, or it lowers the chance of people joining your company with files linked to them, and when people leave your company having files linked to them, if you file as an association. If you file as an individual, then when somebody joins or leaves your company, you have to check whether they have files linked to them. And you then have to change that in your own patent management system, who is now responsible for the files. But you also need to write to the EPO, make sure that the files are changed. You can also do that electronically in My EPO. But it's just another procedure that you have to go through. If you work as an association, your files are linked to your company. So when an attorney leaves your company, you no longer need really to worry about having files linked to them. Make a check, yes, just in case any of the scenarios I've just mentioned have happened, but that's why we advise that you work as an association. Okay. Good. I did see a question before, so I'll just mention there are different flavors of setting the mailbox up. So one of the questions I think was regarding attorneys who work for different companies. So you can only link one attorney or indeed one association to a portal as a recipient. Okay, there's only one unique identifier. So if you link that to another mailbox, if that was possible, where would we send the post to? So for legal certainty, you can only link one person or one association to one portal. So there are a few workarounds here. If an attorney perhaps represents a couple of different companies and they want to use the mailbox, then the workarounds are to create an association, as Emma mentioned earlier on. And some of your files would then be in your name, perhaps as an individual, and some of the files for another company would be set up under the association. And that way you can indeed receive mail in two different portals. or 3 or 4 if you set up several associations to work in that way. Good. We also have the request PCT link, which Emma mentioned. I'm going to finish off by talking about that, because adding these recipients means that you will receive all of your EP communications and your PCT communications where the EPO is the receiving office. PCT link was built for something slightly different, which we'll touch on at the end. Okay. So before we move on, Emma, do we have any questions at this stage?
No, everyone is being very attentive today, Richard. So all good so far. You're explaining it very, very well. Very well. So
Okay, good.
continue
Well,
that. Wonderful, wonderful. Yeah.
you just bear with me. There was something I did want to show our users. So we've got the EPO test. See if we can get into this. Test. So there were a couple of things I just wanted to, oops, excuse me. There we go, it's the one we want. Just a few things I wanted to show you in the second test system that aren't available in the first one. So as you can see, I'm also logging in with my 2FA. So hopefully I will have received a there we go, a one-time verification code 382448.
At least our audience can see the different logging methods and passwords.
Indeed.
So
indeed.
all good, all good. Even if it's repeated, but I think some things need to be repeated, and then you actually finally understand
Exactly.
the process. Yeah, very good.
Good.
You're in, Richard. Very good.
Great. So as you can see on the right-hand side, so we're in the administrative area or admin area under company members. And remember what I just said to you, there is, if you are adding individual recipients, under company members at the end where you have a representative, you should see add as recipient, okay? If you click on add as recipient here, it's a lot quicker. The attorney immediately becomes an active recipient, okay? So it's quicker than going through the mail recipients option that I showed you. If we go to applications and patents, see if we have some files in here somewhere. Not that that matters too much, actually. What I wanted to show you is you've added the individual attorneys as recipients. So they will appear here under applications and patents, and under permissions, you can then give yourself or somebody else access to their portfolio, okay? So in this case, I would give myself to access to this portfolio and save it. And if this person had any files, I would then see them, okay? So that's the sanity check that I was just talking about. You can see in this case that they have no applications or patents linked to them. If they did have any patents or applications linked to them, you could transfer them from within MyEPO or using online filing 2.0. Okay, those were just the 2 points that I wanted to show you in the other system. Good. So you've activated your mailbox here. You have decided which company members are going to process the mail. It's a conversation you should perhaps have internally as well. Perhaps depends on the size of your company, but really you want multiple people to be able to access your mailbox. In some companies, it's also based on the role. So if you have a records department who do this, it might only be the records department. And some companies actually say, well, we're not going to add the attorneys because we don't want the attorneys going in there, opening up the post, perhaps moving it or deleting it before we've docketed it. Okay, but of course you can do it however you want, but this is a conversation you should probably have within your company. Okay, and finally, you've got your mailbox recipients who've been activated, and you are now receiving your mail. So how do you process the mail? The people who have been given access will log in and go to the mailbox tab, and that will take you to your inbox and the communications that you receive from the EPO. Again, we have given you very many flavors to process the mail. So if you simply click on a communication, again, this depends probably on how big your company is, how many communications you're receiving. But if you click on an individual communication, you'll immediately see what this communication is, which applicants it's for, and you can, of course, print it out. Hopefully not, but you can, of course, print it out if you still work in that way. You can download the communication. And under details and history, you can see what has happened to that communication at any time. So if you keep it in your folder system, which I'll show you in a moment, you can see who's moved it, who's accessed it, etc., etc., which is actually very useful on your side, potentially for any loss of rights. If you claim that you haven't received a communication, you can see in here what has happened. So that's how you will open the communication individually. So let's say you have now dealt with this communication. You have downloaded it, saved it to your docketing management system, or emailed it to the attorney. You've docketed it, you've put the time limits in. So really, you don't want to have it in your inbox anymore because it's being dealt with. So what do you do here? The bottom on the left-hand side, you can add a folder. You can add multiple folders if you want. So some people will add, I can't spell, but never mind. You can rename the folder, of course. Okay, so you could just have a folder called archived, and you could put everything in there. That's absolutely fine. Some companies, they create a folder every day. That gets pretty big pretty quickly. Or they create folders based upon applicant's name. It's completely up to you. But realistically, are you going to look into these folders again? I think what most companies want to do is that they want to remove the mail from here, put it into your system, and then what you can do is go, okay, I've dealt with this. I go to actions, and I move to folder. And if you've got several folders, you will find them in this pull down bar. But for now, we've just got one, archived, and that will move it out of your inbox into the archive folder. And then you'll continue to go down each communication. And once you have opened it, saved it, printed it out, you will move it into the folder. Okay. Good. Now, one more thing that we would advise when you are moving these communications, you have dealt with them, we have a little mark as handled. So you've done everything you need to in your system, and I'll come back to why in a moment. I would advise that you put it as marked as handled, and you get this little tick here. So you can go down. So, okay, I've dealt with this one, dealt with this one. And then you can move all of the ones you've dealt with into your folder, and your inbox is getting emptier and emptier. Okay, so that's one way of dealing individually with the files. Now, as you can see, there is either a file name or number, or a communication name, sorry. So you know it's a European search report. You can change view, by the way, so you could actually have your applicants listed here as well. So, you know, it's a European search report. It's for applicant X. So I don't actually need to look at it. I'm actually going to just download this communication individually. And I'm going to send that to the client. I'm going to send it to the attorney. I'm going to docket it, etc., etc. Okay. And of course, I've now dealt with it. Mark as handled. And I'm going to move it to the folder. So again, you can go down individually that way. So there's a few different ways of managing and processing the incoming communications individually for, let's say, companies who perhaps don't have so much incoming post, excuse me. Now, of course, some companies who get larger amounts of post would like to deal with the communications in a bulk way. Okay, so you've got something called bulk downloads. You can select all of your communications and you can download those communications. And you can see that's downloading. So that will just take a few seconds to actually download. This will create a zip file with each of the communications in there. Okay. And then from here, you can perhaps drag and drop the PDFs or the zip files to emails, to your desktop, or perhaps also directly to your document management system. So you can see that here. Okay. So by the, let's just open this up a bit. So for each communication, you will also get a file name so you can see where to drag it to based on either your reference number or the application number. Okay, but this is just different options that you have. Now, another reason that we have given you the bulk downloads is when the mailbox was opened in, I think, 2011. A lot of the larger companies that we're dealing with wanted to semi-automate or automate the process as much as possible. Hence the file name for each of these communications. And the file name is based upon your reference number, the legal date of dispatch, the application number, and the type of form number that it is. Okay. And over the last 14, 15 years, different companies have built different scripts from, let's say, the most basic using the third entity, which is the application number. They would write a script to say, okay, populate my document management system electronic file with this application number with these PDFs. So that's something that would automatically be done. And then simply, let's close that down. Then simply you would go back through the individual communications. Okay, I've dealt with that one. So what are we going to do? We are going to mark it as handled. And we're going to move it to the folder. Okay, so that's one way of semi-automating the processes. Depending on how sophisticated your either your IT in-house capabilities are or your third-party patent management system providers, other companies have taken this a lot further. And based on this file name, they've said, okay, naming the third entity here, yep, populate my document management system for all of these communications. And then based on the form number, they've actually built a matrix. So for communications with non-variable deadlines of perhaps 6 months, they then code that 6 months in their system. And they put an internal message to say, bring this file forward after 3 months or 4 months, whatever your internal processes are, to the attorney or the paralegal so that we can continue the process. In the case of an examination report, for example, the examination report in general has a 4 months time limit, but it is variable. So the the script would actually populate the document management system, code 4 months, but it would send a message to present this communication to a paralegal formalities officer to check, is it really 4 months? And they would then manually go, yeah, this is a 4-month time limit, or no, and they would change it to 2 months. Okay, so those are just a few options that you have, depending on the in-house capability or what your patent management system providers offer. There is the newest option to automate processing your incoming communications, and that is that we now offer an API. Okay, now this is not an API seminar. There will be one coming up, and I think you can find one online as well. If it's something that you're interested in, then please contact your key account manager if you have one, or if you don't, contact support, and they will provide you with the information and also credentials where you can test the API in a demo environment before implementing it in the live environment. So I'm not going to go into any more details in this session on that, but those are the options that you have. Okay. So I'd like to show you a few other features of the mailbox. Before you start processing the mail, some companies can, or do, download the key data as a CSV file. And why do they do that? Because, of course, you all have checks, double checks, and triple checks. So the start of the day, if you download what incoming mail you've had, and then you can compare this at the end of the day with what you've docketed, then you know you haven't missed any incoming mail. Okay. I showed you that briefly before, so you can change the view if you want to. If the date sent is not relevant, you can remove that. If you want to see the applicants in this list, you can add them as well. So you can apply that into the filter. I'm sorry, into the view. You can filter. So if you are looking for communications from a certain applicant, you can have a look in here, or for whatever reason it might be for communications that you're looking for between a certain date sent, then you can look for it within here. Now, you can search for individual applications that are in any folder or in the inbox under search mailbox here. So let's take a test. Okay, so I've given in part of your reference number, for example, and you find all of your communications that have got test in it. Now, why might you want to do that? In most companies, I think we've established that once you have moved the mail into your archive or whichever folder you use, you probably don't want to see them again. If you do for any reason, you can search for them there. I think in general, it's probably, you might be searching for them if you receive a loss of rights and you want to check, well, we didn't receive that electronically, and then it's just a way of searching for applications quickly. Okay. Good. There are 3 safety checks in the mailbox that I would also like to show you, and I think some of those will also relate to some of the tips that I gave you earlier on. So obviously you've got your inbox, which at the end of the day, you want to be empty. So let's move all of these. You've now dealt with everything. You want everything to be set as handled. And you want to move those into the archive folder. So the next day, when you come in, you know that everything in the inbox is new and needs to be dealt with. So what are the little safety checks that we've got for you? So we've got unread. If you haven't actually done anything to a communication, downloaded it, opened it, anything like that, it will still be in bold and it will be in the unread folder. Obviously, in our test system, we've accessed and played around with so many of these communications that there's no longer any unread. Why is that important? Well, of course, if you're rushing to get out and for whatever reason you don't docket something and you don't actually open it, you'll want to see it in the unread list there to make sure that you then check, oh, we haven't docketed this. Let's have a look at what we need to do with it. So that's the first safety check. The not handled option, if you remember, that's under actions. This is where you can tick the communication. So I think it's a nice extra check. When you've downloaded the document, you've done whatever you need to do with it, and you click, yeah, I've dealt with that, and you put it in the archive. If you haven't ticked it, it will then come up in the not handled list. And maybe you have dealt with it, but you can check, did I deal with it and forget to tick it? Or did I not deal with it? So I think that's a good reason for using the set handled option. The third safety check, deleted folder. Again, I don't really know any companies who delete anything in our industry, but we do have the deleted box. I would check this once a week or once every couple of weeks just to make sure something hasn't been deleted by mistake. But again, that's up to you, up to your own ways of working. Good. Just before I finish off and we check if there are any questions, I just wanted to run through a few things. So Emma has mentioned preferences as well. So for a smaller company who perhaps doesn't want to check the mailbox every day, you can send an email alert to either an individual or to a docketing email address so that when a communication comes in, you know you need to check it. So this is good for managing perhaps some of the workload and not going into the mailbox when it's not necessary. In our world of paranoia, I would still, again, similar to the 3 safety checks I showed you, build in some kind of workflow where somebody checks once a week, once every 2 weeks. Well, actually, did we receive new communications and we missed the alert? Okay. Yeah, create association. Again, like Emma showed this to you as well under mailbox recipients. As mentioned earlier, working as an association avoids a lot of administrative work. So if you want to set up an association, you can do that here. Also, as I mentioned, if an attorney is working for several companies and wants to receive their mail in each different company, they can only be added as a professional representative once to one company. So the workaround is to create an association and add that association to the different companies as recipients. You can, by the way, also add multiple associations as recipients in one company as well. Okay, so I think the mailbox encompasses very many flavors, which hopefully solves any issues for all of the participants today. Good. I think the final part that I wanted to mention, again, Emma alluded to, was the request PCT link. Add recipients is the way that the mailbox was built, and the add recipients was built basically for EP communications. What we've done is built a little workaround in our systems so that when we are also the receiving office for PCT communications, your EP identity and your international representative IDs are linked together. And so the communications for EP and PCT will arrive in your mailbox. Okay. The request PCT link, just to be clear, was built for companies where we are not the receiving office. So if you're filing at the USPTO, but we then become the International Search Authority or a peer, and we are sending communications out, this is the solution that you would have. And the email address that you would add here is the email address that you use as your correspondence address on the WIPO forms 101 or 401. Okay, so that is the difference here. So
because that was a question as well, Richard, that came in from one of our customers. Explain what type of communications are sent to the MyEPO mailbox, PCT communications, where EPO is the receiving office in the international phase, or is it from the PCT link? So it's good that you go back then to the PCT link and explain that. Very good.
Yes, and hopefully we've answered that question. So the PCT link recipient is shown in the same screen here. The difference here is the recipient is the email address that you add as your correspondence address when filing to WIPO. Okay, it's potentially moving forward something that we'll also use as a little bit of a fallback at the EPO. So if you add as a European patent representative your email address here as a little catch-all, you're not going to break anything either. Okay. Good. Then I think that was everything. Let me just indeed.
There was another thing, Richard, from one of our lovely users. If the email is marked, moved, watched, is this transparent to the office? So the answer, of course, is yes. So you did to show the history and details. Maybe you show that again.
Yeah, sorry, I didn't quite understand the.
So if an email is marked, moved, watched, is this transparent to the office? So there is.
So yes, it is. We're not going to look at it. But of course, if somebody says, well, we didn't receive the communication, then obviously a bit like a postal search in the paper world, we would have a look in our systems and we can, of course, see that it's been moved. I mean, I think we're at something like 97% of mailbox use now. But I do remember when when my hair was a different color and I was a little bit taller, and we'd implemented the mailbox again. And in fact, one of our Irish attorneys wrote on a blog, fantastic, finally we can receive our communications electronically. And then with typical Irish humour wrote that, but that is the end of us pretending that we hadn't received a communication, which obviously only a joke. But yeah, it is visible to us within our systems. Are there any other questions you would like us to go through, Emma? Is there anything that we missed out?
Let me see, there was something there earlier on as well. I want to go back up to it. Oh yeah, but the legal practitioner. So the mailbox setting, if you are a legal practitioner, should it be done as an applicant in the mailbox setting? Do you remember then we said you can add a professional representative, you can add an association, or an
it's
applicant.
as a representative.
Yeah, and the representative, yeah.
No, but if you're a legal practitioner, you would add yourself as a representative. In the box.
I lovely Roberta answered that already, but it's just nice again to repeat some things because sometimes there is a lot of information here. So it's only normal that as we speak about different things that more questions then arise. But I think it's very good, Richard. You did a lovely display of the mailbox.
Oh, hang on. There's one question that has also been asked by, I think Christine is asking, what is the case with applications filed on paper earlier than EPO filing to? So I guess the question is, if I've already filed electronically, but I'm now creating my mailbox, then yes, any communications that we send out from now, when you create your mailbox, will also go into the mailbox. We don't send them out in paper. What is the correct configuration for a paralegal who wants to access the mailbox of only one representative of a company. At the moment, that is not possible. So I think let's go back into here. Let me just share this. Again.
But it's a good question. It's a
Can you
question that
see
we're
the screen again?
we do. Yeah, go ahead, Richard. Yeah.
Okay, so I think for me, again, if I much preferred when questions were live and we could have the conversation. Depending on your setup and the reasons for only accessing one representative, which presumably, excuse me, you have a paralegal that works for each attorney. You could, of course, set up different portals with different mailboxes, which is a bit convoluted and probably not the best way of doing it. I think my advice there would be based on the application number or indeed your reference number, you can then see, okay, this communication is for the attorney that I'm working for. So some companies actually have the initials of the attorneys in the reference number, or some kind of identifier as to who that is. So that would be the workaround for that. The firm has an active mailbox, but we still received official notifications via registered mail only. Is there something done or shown as being done in the mailbox ticked as active? Thank you. Yeah, so again, if you have a key account manager, I would contact them. If you don't have a key account manager, you might want to contact support. Depends on the notifications. We'd need to see the examples for it. So again, some of the scenarios might be that you have not added the attorney as a recipient, or that you think that you're only filing as an association, and actually, due to the scenarios I've mentioned earlier on, some of the communications are being sent that way. There are a very small amount of communications that are still going out in paper. I think potentially an appeal. And you can check that on the whitelist that Emma showed you earlier on. But I think contact support or your key account manager directly, give them the application numbers, and they will be able to then give you the concrete answer as to why that is.
Or even as an extra service, you're more than welcome to contact myself or Richard later on today, so we can look into it for you. Okay, because it's nice then to go through what you're experiencing, and I'm sure that we'll find a resolution for you there.
Okay, so I think that was all that I wanted to mention. Keep your eyes out on the website. So I think the next seminar coming up is for Online Filing 2.0. There will also be
Church, the 17th of March. Yeah.
17th of March. Lovely.
The Online Filing 2.0.
There is a best practice seminar coming up, which I think Emma and I are giving as well, which is actually a more rounded view of what the administrator needs to do. So obviously we've shown you what they need to do in the mailbox, but when people join and leave your companies, there's quite a lot of things to do in MyEPO and of course Online Filing 2.0. So you're welcome to join us on that as well.
Yeah, I think this has been really an ask, hasn't it, Richard, for many companies to assist you in creating a best practice then when you're within your company. So Richard and I are going to get together and put something good for you to take home with, and yeah, so this will be definitely a seminar that you should attend, obviously, if you have the time. That goes without saying.
Absolutely. Good. I can see that someone's they've replied there were annuity notifications. Okay, so that might be a different trigger, but indeed, then the team would need the application numbers to check that for you. Good. Then I think that is all for today. I hope that that was useful. We hope that that was useful for you, and look forward to seeing you in future seminars. Emma, do you have any last words?
Well, maybe just to summarize as well. So you definitely need an administrator, company administrator, and if this administrator is not already obvious or known to you, then please contact and support via the contact form to find out who it is, or become the administrator yourself. This is also possible. So again, just to reiterate the most important here, the administrator adds the recipients, defines the mailbox users and activates the mailbox, okay? And then the mailbox users process the mail as defined by your internal workflows under the options demonstrated earlier by Richard. So really, provided that your internal processes can support it, the EPO mailbox is a valuable tool that significantly improves the workflow. You save time, you save resources, and more importantly, you become far more efficient. Other than that, the EPO's key account management and customer services offer strong implementation support for companies and law firms, minimizing then the in-house effort and experience required, and just make sure that the different processes are put efficiently in place and that it suits your company workflow. This is very important. And also maybe to mention that the implementation of a mailbox is really how would you say, it's like a key milestone then for your administrative organization. And the EPO mailbox makes the handling of EPO communications much easier and faster. In particular, then you no longer need to scan correspondence into your digital file system. So be aware, I suppose, on a final note, just be aware then how you communicate with the EPO and take ownership of your data. So, and if you're unsure of anything, you're always more than welcome to reach out to your key account manager if you have one, or by all means contact support via the contact form. And on that note, it was a pleasure to speak to you again today, and Richard and I very much look forward to meeting you again in the near future, and enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you so much for attending. Richard, thank you. Wonderful as always.
One last question before we go.
Thank you so much.
Sorry, one last question before we go.
Of course. Yep, go ahead, Richard. Yeah.
Can different attorneys have different mailboxes, like they log in different ways into my EPO? The only way you can have a different yourself have different mailboxes is indeed if you set up an association. So you can only be defined as a recipient in one mailbox as a professional representative with your unique EQE identifier. If you need more mailboxes for different reasons, you would have to set up an association and file as an association for those cases, and they would then go into the different mailbox where the association is the recipient. Hope that answered your question.
Very nice, Richard. Very nicely done, and just
thumbs up there, so I hope that's it. Brilliant. Then we will stay on for a minute or two, but then wish you a lovely rest of the day. Thanks very much.
All the best. Take care, everyone. Bye-bye.